Upon the canvas of his once impeccable physique, the harsh palette of captivity had sketched a new portrait of Turul. His lip was parched, cracked like the barren soil, thirsting for a drop of mercy. His stomach echoed the same hollow song, a dirge of deprivation and longing. The sun left its signature etched across his broad shoulders, skin tanned to the hue of old copper. His superbly solid body was veiled in a patina of sweat, dust, and gunpowder from the day's toil. Under a mantle of filth, his flesh told tales of past trials. The brands on his biceps, grotesque badges of servitude, were visible amidst the grime. Old puncture wounds and faint whip scars on his back and chest were barely discernible, outshone by the fresh lash marks Tamas whip painted onto his skin, creating a vivid, macabre fresco. His chest heaved in rhythmic panting. His sturdy legs verged on spasms after the day's relentless labor. A shadow eclipsed the steadfast slave, as Tamas, a hulking figure, emerged.
Your day in the sun is over, but your night's just beginning. Ha ha ha.
He mocked, his laughter shattering the twilight's silence. Unflinching, Turul met Tamas' gaze. Despite the setting sun, he felt the power of the Great Turul within, the unyielding flame of rebellion. His gaze settled on the leather blindfold and whip in the overseer's hands, tools of torment, one to rob sight, the other to dispense pain, both harbingers of his coming ordeal. As the rough blindfold was thrust upon his eyes, casting him into a world devoid of light, a resolute thought anchored the young rebel's spirit.
You can steal my sight, but not my ability to navigate the world.
With this mantra, he began his next labor phase, guided not by sight, but by his innate intuition and unwavering spirit. Even blindfolded and stumbling, Turul's mind stayed sharp, untouched by the physical ordeal. His movements were hesitant yet purposeful, each stumble and turn committed to memory. Fatigue and blindness hindered his body, but not his eagle-like mind. It navigated through the darkness, undeterred by unseen hurdles, guided by echoes and scents the blindfold couldn't restrain. The journey veered downwards, revealing a staircase the resilient slave recognized. Every step resonated through his tired body, demanding balance in the darkness. The rough stones beneath his bare feet evoked memories of earlier toil. This was the tower he had ascended with heavy barrels. Now, he descended into the castle's shadowy depths. The young rebel's heart pounded as he stepped, not from exertion, but from the chilling anticipation of the awaiting darkness and likely captured comrades. As Tamas' rough hand propelled him forwards, his voice echoing off the stone, Turul's resolve deepened. Each shove, each faltering step, fueled his determination. Reaching the icy floor, the towering overseer removed his blindfold. Turul's eyes, resilient and defiant, took in the surroundings. The space they had descended into was not the familiar pit of despair he was acquainted with, but a different beast entirely. It was a vast subterranean vault, hollow and desolate, a ghastly stage set for violent performances. The dungeon was not bustling with groaning captives. Instead, it was eerily silent, a graveyard of hope with its skeletal cells waiting. Its chilly stone floor and desolate cells hinted at hopelessness, the air lingering with the scent of past torment. The sight of tables, laden with blood-stained torture devices, under flickering torchlight unsettled him, but did not shake his determination. These cruel instruments were grim evidence of King Rose's sadism, a chilling display of promised pain.
Get to work, earworm.
Tamas grunted, his voice echoing ominously off the cold stone walls. His pudgy finger pointed at the squalid tools, the stained devices, and the scattered debris.
Make this place spotless, before the others return.
With a defiant spirit, the brave captive took the sneered order to clean the dungeon. Despite the attempt to demean him, his mind raced, looking for potential leads in the grimy floors, blood-stained tools, and cell doors. All of these could offer secrets, clues to the whereabouts of his comrades. He knew he had to move cautiously, his captors unaware of his audacious intent. Turul's voice, steady and resonant, pierced the silence.
You wouldn't expect me to use my bare hands for such a task.
Unwavering, his dignity remained intact, despite the filth and fatigue. A fire in his eyes Tamas couldn't extinguish. The heartless giant jerked a thick finger with a sneer, his brutish face twisting with smug satisfaction.
Use yours.
He drawled, a malicious glint in his eyes, as he gestured towards the slave loincloth. The cruel humor of the situation was not lost on him, his laughter echoing through the dank and gloomy dungeon. Turul stood motionless for a moment. The dungeon seemed to hold its breath. The taunt hung in the air, thick and ugly, as the dungeon's damp.
Or your body.
Tamas continued, the words slithering through the air, like venomous snakes. His eyes bore with perverse delight, the sick satisfaction of his power trip gleaming within them. But the unyielding prisoner remained silent, his gaze steady and firm, meeting the mockery without flinching. His hands gripped into fists. Turul was not a man to be easily broken, or shamed. The scene unfolded in a horrifying blur. The merciless overseer's face contorted with rage as he lunged forward, knocking the captive off his feet with a brutish shove. Turul fell hard onto the dungeon floor, surprised by Tamas' sudden force. The giant overseer quickly stepped on his back, sliding him across the floor while laughing manically. Despite the humiliation, the enslaved hero's features only hardened with resolve. Tamas then yanked off the muscular slave's loincloth, throwing it near his face, with a dismissive,
There you go, make yourself useful now.
Stripped of his last shred of dignity, Turul moved about the table, laden with gruesome tools of torment. His every muscle rippled under his skin as he bent, stretched, and flexed, his movements an unconscious display of the physical prowess that had won him his reputation and the scorn of his captors. Each blood-stained tool he handled was a stinging reminder of his predicament, but he took them in his calloused hands with a grim determination. As he cleaned away the dried blood and filth, he couldn't help but imagine the brave souls subjected to their cruelty. His mind buzzed with strategies, transforming the instruments of pain into assets for a potential revolt. Every now and then, a sharp command from Tamas would break the monotonous rhythm, forcing him to move to a different part of the dungeon, to scrub harder, faster. The defiant prisoner moved with purpose, his muscular form aglow with perspiration. He reached up, his biceps and broad back flexing and unflexing with the exertion. Grasping the cruelly sharp tools and weapons, hung along the wall. Each tool's weight, balance, and potential lethality were examined. More than a slave labor, his actions resembled a warrior's inspection of an enemy arsenal. Turul's mind buzzed with rebellion as he cleaned the floor. Each crack, loose stone, or iron bar held potential escape routes, overpowering tactics, and communication strategies with the outside. His mental acuity, reminiscent of his skill with a sword, transformed this humiliation into opportunity, sharpening further amidst adversity. When the resilient slave made to scrub the grime from the empty cells, Tamas slumbered in front of him, a wall of malice barring his path.
"Those ain't needin' your touch, pretty boy,"
he sneered, the cruel delight in his voice, echoing off the dank stone walls.
"No one's but to dwell in 'em. No one worth cleanin' for, least."
Turul paused, his gaze shifting between the jeering brute and the unexplored cells. Each cell held potential secrets, possibly housing his fellow rebels. Though anxiety clawed at his heart, he masked it with a nod of feigned acceptance. Then the warden's footsteps descending the stairwell signaled the end of the day's work, and the return of the other slaves.
"They're back,"
Tamas growled, gazing at the grimy prisoner. His coarse fingers streaked across Turul's dust and sweat-covered chest. His cruel grin widened, eyes glowing with perverse pleasure, as they met the stoic gaze of the rebellious slave.
"Time for a waterwork, ha ha ha."